Hello and welcome to Graceful Connections. I am Sophie Bidard, your host on this journey to gracefully reach for the stars. An adventure of exploration, discovery, healing, liberation, growth, and truthful expression. I'm so grateful that you've chosen to join us today, bringing your unique energy that pours into our circle of connection. Your presence here honors the calling within you to awaken your light body with the body as the portal, which is what our guest, Jules Arnes, will be sharing with us about today, and that's going to be fascinating for sure. So let's begin. Take a moment to let go of anything that doesn't serve this present moment. With each breath, feel yourself arriving more fully here. As we set our intention, may all that flows within our sacred space, be it words, vibrations, energies, serve the highest evolution of our souls and extend outward in service to all. I invite you to open your heart and your mind to receive all the brilliance that awaits. Activating your connection to the new Earth crystalline grid and to the galactic center, the center of truth. You are perfectly held, both grounded and lifted. You are safe, relaxed, and ready and open to receive. Now I'm calling the orb of grace from the heart of the universe and placing the orb of grace around our gathering, each and every one of us, that we be held in this orb of grace and infused with grace all along our time together. As grace permeates our field, it harmonizes and magnifies all that seeks alignment and illuminates all that longs for expression in accordance with divine will and the order of grace. And breathe. Beautiful. Within the Orb of Grace, I'm delighted to welcome Jules Arnes, globally recognized thought leader in the fields of quantum biology and ascension through the body. What a blessing to have you with us today, Jules. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Welcome to the Orb of Grace, Jules. Welcome again. You are with us already. It's a delight to have you again. So today, everyone, Jules will share insights on awakening your light body, the body as the portal. And she will also offer live intuitive readings along with mini activations. So to request your reading, press *2 on the phone or click raise hand on the web to come on the line with Jules, or place your request in the Q&A box on the web. And the question to ask is, what's blocking my DNA from expressing my true potential? For now, let's dive into our fascinating topic, and I'd like to begin with asking you, Jules, to share about this notion of the body being the portal to ascension. This is very intriguing, so can you please elaborate?
Of course, yes. So our body is, when right now most of us are experiencing our body through what I would say is that two-strand DNA system. It's the DNA system that most science is studying. When you go to the doctor, you're being treated in that two-strand DNA system, but we all know that we actually have 12 strands of DNA, and so when we start to focus on the awakening and experiencing our body through all 12 strands, we do open up a portal of awakening, and we start to experience our body as multidimensional. And within this, there is an intelligence, and that intelligence can actually be measured at a specific frequency of 963, which is also the frequency of source. And of course, it's going to go up and beyond that frequency, because anytime we're able to measure a frequency, we always know that that's what the instruments that we have within this third dimensional reality can measure, but we always want to hold space. Of course, it's going to be much more expansive than that, but it's interesting to know that we can actually measure and prove what our body is capable of doing within this dimension, and knowing that that is even a limitation, because we're so much more than that.
Okay, so how do we do that? I guess that's the burning question, right? Because who doesn't want this? Who doesn't want to? Who doesn't want to vibrate at the frequency of source? Yes, I guess it's a process. It's a journey, right? We're not gonna jump right away, or maybe who knows? What do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know? Let's, as you said, let's not put limitations, right? Let's allow whatever the divine has in store for us. But what's your take on that? How do we do that?
Well, the first thing we look at is where we're holding consciousness. And we know that consciousness is such a huge part of what creates our reality, and not just our reality of what we're experiencing outside of ourselves, but also as the body as well. And knowing that we have this intelligence that's transcribed in our DNA, we start by asking, right? We start by asking to experience what we are beyond what we have the capability of seeing or feeling. I think a lot of us have a deep knowing, and that knowing could show up as, I know I should heal instantly. I know I should be able to manifest instantly. I know that there's more to life than what I'm experiencing. It's just this deep kind of, I don't know, I guess it depends on how you're experiencing it, but it's a deep knowing that isn't matching the experience that we're having. And that is this transcribed frequency. It's there to nudge us to see through this knowing that there is more than what we're experiencing. And so when we begin to activate the DNA, you could say the light body or the quantum body begins to turn on, and the body itself starts to raise in frequency, which in turn begins to allow our consciousness to move outside of what we call a programmed reality. You could call that the matrix, but that's also the programmed body, because what we're experiencing is only 2 of 12 strands of DNA. And so when we start to move from identifying as form to attuning our consciousness to this frequency that's stored within us, we start to open that portal and have the experience of more of a multidimensional body.
Yeah, okay. So I have one question, Jules, before we go on. You talk about a knowing, and yes, I'm sure many of us have this knowing. I'm wondering, is it a knowing? Is it a remembering? Have we ever operated with the full 12 strands activated and active? In which case, is this knowing actually a remembering of those times when we were operating in that way?
I would say it's both, right? Because I think the knowing is what allows us to explore the remembering. And I think the deep knowing that we're more is what kind of opens up the curiosity to what it is that we are remembering. Because it's not that we're learning anything new, we truly are remembering. And I think it starts with that space of, because it's not coming from a place of a belief, and I would say it's not even coming from a place of faith. It's coming from an internal guidance system that is a feeling of knowing. And then within that, we open up to remembering what that knowing is actually holding.
Okay. It's funny because I'm having an image of, when a dog or an animal is sniffing like in the air, and because they know there's something out there, right? And I'm getting like we're sniffing that there's something more to there's something more to reality. There's something more to our body. There's something more to our capacities. There's just something more, and we're kind of sniffing it, right? Perceiving it. Perceiving it.
That's a really
Okay.
fun way of seeing it.
It's the image that, my higher self is showing to me to share about this. Like how are we knowing? We're kind of sniffing it. So how do we go on with that? Are there steps? Is it the practice? Is it there is a shift in consciousness? How do we go on with that?
Yeah. So, well, what I love to bring people is to first have the experience of what it feels like to be able to read what the DNA is saying, and then be able to turn on specific frequencies and having that experience. But within what I have explored and really done for myself as well is that I've found that there's really six kind of steps, if you will. I don't really like to make it that linear, but the first step is learning how to use consciousness as a tool. So many of us see consciousness as our identity, but really consciousness is the awareness of wherever it is that we're put in. So it's the awareness of a third dimensional reality, a third dimensional body, or it can be the awareness that there is an intelligence beyond what we can comprehend. And once we see that our consciousness is not who we are, but it's actually a tool to remembering that who we are is this intelligence beyond all things, then we know that consciousness is something that we need to learn to use in the correct way. So that's actually the step one, is learning to hold consciousness in what I call an abstract frequency, so that it can be informed by the DNA itself. And I know that sounds like a little backwards than what we've been taught, but when we start to ask the DNA to activate, and we're going to experience some of that today when we do the readings, but when we start to ask it for it to activate, it does start to kind of inform our consciousness. It's kind of like our consciousness will hit these new frequencies, and we start to see things from a higher perspective, and we experience the body beyond its limitations, and all these fun, magical things start to happen. And it all starts with just asking that frequency release and exploring what that frequency is with our consciousness.
Okay. Sounds good. So that's our step one. And asking, it's as simple as that. I love it. I love how you make it simple, or you perceive it to be simple, and you offer it to us as a simple step, just asking.
Just asking. Where I always say that our body is the most advanced chat GBT there is because it has multidimensional answers, and that we get to every time we ask that question, our DNA will release a frequency that has the answer, and then how we explore that frequency and how we can, and that's where when we start to see consciousness as the tool. Another way you could see that is there's either two things that are going to be operating your tool of consciousness. It's either going to be your programming is operating your tool of consciousness, or the intelligence or the frequency of source will be operating it. And both of those experiences have different vibrations, right? Like we know what it feels like to be operated through our programming because it feels maybe stressful or dense or limiting. But when our consciousness is hitting that frequency of source, it feels expansive and still and peaceful. So we know, our body knows what it feels like to be in that more multidimensional experience versus what it feels like to be in the programmed experience. And that's step one, is learning to master where we're holding our consciousness and how it's being informed. And then, of course, we can go into, once we know what that is, we can go into reading the programming. So meaning when we're not in alignment, that we can see what programming is there and shift it. So we can move from maybe the limitation or feeling unworthy to feeling in alignment and lovable. I mean, we can just, all these different little nuances that we get all wrapped up in. It's like once we have the awareness of how we're playing out a program, we can reprogram it, if you will. And that would be like step 2.
Okay. Got it. Now, okay, just let me ask you one thing about how we ask and we get a response. Now, you talked a lot about how we feel the response. Now, some of us are more visual or auditive, right? So it may come as sensations in the body, but it may also be visions or the way we perceive visually, maybe auditory. It doesn't have to be strictly feeling sensations, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. When we come back to the body, though, we have to, like, one of the biggest signals of where we're holding our consciousness is what our body feels like. So if our body feels dense and it feels stressed, then we know that we're in what I call the third level of consciousness and down. But if our body is feeling light and expansive, then we know we're in the third level, or we're in the fourth level or the fifth level. And so when we're in that space, yes, when we have the frequency is released and we're putting our consciousness there and we're having the experience of what the answer would be, if you will, or the feedback, then what our body feels like is a big indicator of what level of consciousness we're in. And then at that point, we begin to hear without hearing, see without seeing, feeling in more of an expansive way versus if we're trying to make it happen or we're imagining. We all know what that feels like, right? So instead of making it happen or trying to make it happen or imagining the answer, we're allowing it to come to us.
Okay, great. Thank you for bringing this precision. So it means we all need to reclaim our feeling sense, right? Which for some may have been shut down for whatever reasons and experiences. And so we need to, that's one thing to reprogramming our feeling sense, right? And putting it in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important to, when we say feeling, it's important to know that we're not talking emotion. All we're talking about is an awareness of what the body feels like, because our body is a technology. It's a divine biology. And when we learn to actually go into the body to receive the answer from source, then we are tapping into that sequence or the coding that is in our DNA, because our body is actually here to ascend, and the ascension can be embodied. It's not something that we just do with our consciousness. Our body is a technology. It's a divine technology, and it's here to be an expression of source. And if we're always leaving and going somewhere else in order to reach these high levels of consciousness, we're leaving behind the technology that we've been given to do that as a walking, living, breathing thing. And of course, we're only experiencing 2 of 12. So just imagine what your body would be if you went in and actually explored these other 10 strands of DNA as they activate, what you would become and what that experience of consciousness would be. And it's just time, right? It's time to experience the body as this divine technology that it's holding. And a big part of that is by exploring the different feelings of our body, not just on a physical level, but on a multidimensional level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hearing the language of the body, right? So I'm seeing how through what you're explaining, and thank you for bringing clarity to this. Using consciousness as the tool, we can learn the language of our body that gives us the guidance that we need, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So step 1, step 2, we do the reprogramming of whatever needs reprogramming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything more about this, or are we good to go to step 3?
Yes, so you can see step 2 as the ability to move from one thing to the next, right? So it could be reprogramming the I am, or reprogramming identity. And then step 3 would be actually moving from identity to frequency. So we no longer identify as the I am, but we identify as pure source frequency, or we identify as frequency. And when you start to identify as frequency, you no longer have the identity through what we would call the matrix or programming. You can think of it as seeing something in the frequency of love would be different than saying I am love, or experiencing the frequency of love versus saying I am love. So we move from the I am to frequency, which is really the beginning of moving into what I call the expression of our DNA, the expression of source frequency of the DNA. And in this place, we stop observing a programmed reality, and we start attuning our consciousness as frequency. And so that would be step 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That feels very liberating to my body.
Yeah.
Using what you just described, it feels very like, wow, liberating and expansive, right? Getting rid of identity, getting rid of the definitions, right? Of the I am, this, that, just getting into the frequency. Okay.
Yeah. Feels good. Yeah, and really the first 3 steps is, in my work, we use the evolution scalar technology, and it's working on a frequency level to kind of what I would call the inside out. So it's turning on the divine technology of the DNA. And what happens on a cellular level when you start to turn on these frequencies is that, and a lot of us know Bruce Lipton's work, how the cell is observing its environment to be told what to do. And this can be, partly what you eat, how you think, what frequency that your consciousness is held in will all affect how the cell operates. And this is on, a biological level, but it also will determine what epigenetic codes get turned on and also what gets turned off. But now what we're doing is we're actually moving from just that 2-strand DNA system into this 12-strand DNA system. So when we start to work with the technology in these first 3 steps, the cell stops identifying as the environment of being told what to do from a program standpoint to actually identifying as the frequency that's stored in the DNA. So you can see the cell at almost like where before it was scanning the environment of the body with your thoughts and whatnot, and then kind of shifting that and moving it into the DNA itself, where it starts to scan that 12-strand DNA system where it's actually identifying as the frequency as source. So when we do that, the cells begin to operate differently, and we start to turn on what we call the light body or the quantum body.
Okay. Yeah. So is that our step 4, or is it 4, 5, 6?
So basically, you can see the first 3 steps are turning on your technology. So now let's just say that we've moved through the 3rd step. The technology is fully turned on and it's running. Well, then the last 3 steps are learning to hold our consciousness in this divine technology. So we're no longer participating in the activation of it consciously. Now that the operating system has been turned on, we learn to actually operate at the 12-strand DNA system. So we learn to hold consciousness in a new way. We learn to experience our body in a new way. And then the last step would also be to master reality from this operating system. And so you can see the first 3 steps are turning on the operating system, and then the last 3 steps are learning to operate it to the place where eventually at the end of it, like when the 6th step is complete, the operating system kind of takes over and you become a divine technology where consciousness is no longer needed. And that sounds like a little crazy to think about, but that is your pure essence. Like who you really are is source frequency, right? And our experience of that is what we're experiencing as consciousness, which is the separation of that frequency. And so when the operating system is fully turned on, our body becomes a walking intelligence of source where our consciousness is no longer needed.
Wow. Wow. That's a perspective. It's really impressive. What's really impressive is that it's at the same time, it's kind of mind-blowing, but it's also, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, right? So I guess it's back to the knowing, right? To that knowing that we have. It is mind-blowing, but at the same time, it's, I mean, yes, of course we want that, but also it sounds and feels like totally, yes, that's what I can say. Very interesting. Okay, let's be very precise and clear. Can you clarify steps 4, 5, and 6? Can you spell them for us? I'm sure everyone wants to be precise and have their steps and be equipped with that.
Right. So it would be step 4 is when the technology is turned on. And so in my work, I call the technology divine molecular technology. So at that point, you are working your divine molecular technology. So step 4 would be consciousness held in that technology. So it's actually holding consciousness at 963. And so it would be the experience of consciousness as a divine biology. And it's kind of like, well, what would that be? And so in the work, step 4, you actually go through all 12 DMT codes, which are the 12 codes that are turning on the operating system. So you shift through 12 different states of consciousness, or you could say avatars, if you will. So I would give you an example. So DMT code number 1 is an innovator. So it's the ability to hold thought outside of programming. So that would be like your claircognizance, if you will. And it's holding it in the frequency of source. So what would it be to be an innovator as an expression of source frequency? So everything in that 4th, 5th, and 6th step, you're an expression of source. And so you would go through the 12, there's actually 12 different conscious states that you move through in step 4. And then in step 5, you do the same thing through the body. So you're actually moving the body into a very high level of performance to where the body starts to identify as frequency. And so you can have that experience through what it is to eat in the frequency of source, to work out through the frequency of source, to sleep. And you start to break all of the programming of how the body is dependent on looping cycles, and things like eating, things like sleeping, things like breathing, all those things become multidimensional. And then the last step is actually begin to go through the 12 laws of the universe, and you begin to bring breath into 0 point, and you really start to master what the body is beyond the programming.
Okay. Wow.
It sounds very maybe abstract, but when you're actually in the experience and you're being held and you're experiencing your body as this technology, it's a very liberating experience, because you realize how many programs that we're experiencing, and they all start to kind of unravel, and it becomes really fascinating to see what we're capable of doing when we move our consciousness into the 12-strand DNA system. And it's an actual real thing that we experience. It's, healing instantly, and not having to sleep anymore, and eating very, very little. And, and this is just the beginning. Like, once we master these 6 steps, we will no longer experience ourselves as the humans that we are today.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. Definitely. Whew. Okay, let's take that in. Thank you. Thank you for this perspective, direction, inspiration, invitation as well. Now, are there practices? Are there practices? You talked about the cells, right? Are there practices to facilitate attuning ourselves to ascension energies?
Yeah, so, with that, like in my work, of course, we have the evolution scalar technology, and the DMT codes is how we turn on these frequencies. But today we're going to experience some of the readings and the frequencies, but it all starts with just asking, right? It's asking, and then, but I am going to go back to that step 1, because as much as all of the other steps sound so amazing, and we all want to experience what we are when we move past our limitations, learning to hold consciousness outside of our programming, outside of what we identify as, is the most important step that there is, because we all have the experience of what it feels like to go to a higher frequency. And, that's one of the beauties that we'll experience today. But not all of us know how to hold our consciousness in that high frequency once we get there. And that it's a practice, but it's also learning the tools of how to use a tool of consciousness. And because we're all so identified in what our consciousness is experiencing, we're actually in a state where it's really, really hard to maintain a higher frequency. And once we learn that, we really do become unstoppable. And I say that this first step, once it is truly mastered, the rest of them are ones that if you actually sat in the frequency that is coded in your DNA, you would find your way without the rest of the steps, because that's how we get there, right? Because everything we need to know is inside of us.
Yes, absolutely. One thing I'm perceiving is that this is there's a reclaiming of our choice and of our power to choose, right? To choose what we do with our consciousness, to choose where we put our consciousness, where we put our attention, to choose what we do with our consciousness, right? And to reclaim our ability to choose. And not only our ability, but the power that comes through our choice, right? Because I keep being shown, as you speak, I'm being shown that it's like, let's say that on the left side, there's the programming, right? The programming thought or the programming experience. And let's say that on the right side is the source frequency experience. And what I'm being shown is that, well, I can choose to look. It's actually as simple, in a way, it's as simple as that I can choose, do I look on the left or do I look on the right, right? And it's my choice. Oh, I look to the programming, and I'm going to operate, and I put my consciousness there. I use my tool to play in the programming. That's my choice. Or I use my choice to look on the right and to put my consciousness and to use my consciousness at the frequency of source. And that's my choice. And it's actually the power of my choice that allows me to get out of the programming and to get into the source consciousness. And I feel that this is it's very important to realize the power of our choice. Is that right? Are you with us, Jules? You dropped off the line. You dropped off the line.
I did. I'm so sorry. It's just like
okay.
My phone just went dead. I apologize.
That's okay. I guess we needed a moment to take it in. Did you hear what I was saying? Did you hear me or not?
I'm not sure where I'm not sure where I dropped off. It just all of a sudden you weren't there.
Okay. So what I was illustrating is the power of our choice and how we can choose to put our attention in the programming, or we can choose to put our attention and our consciousness, right? And to use our tool of consciousness, we can choose to put it in the programming or into the source frequency. And the reclaiming of our, not only our ability to choose, but the power that comes with our choice.
Oh my gosh, that was so beautifully said. Yes.
Thank you. So, because which means no matter what our circumstances are, it's in our hands. It's in our, as you said, it's in our body, right? It's within ourselves.
Yes.
And it starts with choosing. I know you work a lot with intention as well. Well, having this intention putting our intention on the frequency of source and operating with the frequency of source. From that intention, from that choice, it will all unfold.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to, go back to kind of what this call is all about, and that is seeing your body as a portal of that experience, and that we were designed to experience our body as a divine technology or a divine expression of source. And with the separation of consciousness from that design, we have distortion. And it's important to remember that that distortion is only there because of how we've learned to identify as our body. But that distortion can be dissolved by learning to move back into that frequency of source as the body, right? And I think that's the most important thing that we bypass so often, is that we want to experience source outside of our body. But now it's time to embody source as the body. It's to embody the ascension through the body.
Yes, absolutely. I get massive chills. I think the shiver of truth is rippling throughout our audience. Who doesn't want that? I mean, absolutely. So thank you for bringing this invitation with the knowing of the possibility of this. Like you're bringing this to us on a silver plate. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think now is the time to let's experience, right? Have experiences, as you said, with the readings. We're going to get to experience. I think now is a good time to get into the readings and the activations. Would you agree, Jules?
Yes, I think that's a perfect time. Thank you.
Yeah, we've laid the ground beautifully, and thank you for being so precise and clear and inspiring. Now let's get into the readings. So everyone, to request your reading, press *2 on the phone or click raise hand on the web. Come on the line with Jules or place your request in the Q&A box. And the question to ask is, what's blocking my DNA from expressing my true potential? Or just simply ask Jules for a reading, and that's what she will read for you. So we're going to start with live callers, then we'll go into the Q&A. Let's begin going to Middleton, Wisconsin with Jeanine. I'm unmuting you, Jeanine. Hi,
Yes.
Jeanine.
Hi.
Welcome.
Jules and Sophie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Great. What's blocking my DNA from expressing my true potential?
All right, let's look at what comes up for you. All right. Okay. So the first way that we're going to look at this is kind of when I was talking about, and this I'll just say this one time in every reading going forward. Everybody can just see how this reading is going to unfold. So the first way we're going to look at it is the distortion, so that we can see what it is that's blocking. And then knowing that as we're reading, we're shifting the cells from observing a distorted environment to moving it into the expression of source. And that's going to make sense as I read this for you, Jean. But okay, so your first one is how you're connecting. So there's a distortion in the purity of connection. And so this could be a place of like holding back or not being transparent and vulnerable. How this could show up in your life would be times that you're supposed to say no and you don't, or it could be kind of shifting the purity of how you're communicating so that it's received and how you think they want to hear it versus how you truly are holding it. So on the other side, as we activate this part of your DNA system moving from distortion to expression. It's pure communication and connection. And now I'm going to continue into the next code, which is how that connection, it brings forth creation. So another way of saying this is that to live at our highest potential, when we begin to speak the word of the divine and we are in alignment with the purity, that creation flows through us, right? We become a channel of divine creation. And so now that we are on the other side and we're moving into expression, I just want you to feel in your body as we turn on these codes of moving from a distorted space of connection and communication to a place of pure connection, to where you speak through the divine, and that becomes a creation, to where you become the creator in the creation. So just feeling that frequency as it activates in your body. And then this opens up to a space of flow. And it creates momentum and inspiration. And then through this activation, it's creating a pattern or a system, like almost you're upgrading the specific frequencies, just like you would into a computer that you want to have the experience of. And the code that's coming through for the next on your journey of experiencing your highest potential is soul connection. It is connecting with others that reflect the frequency that you are holding and that supports this space of divine connection and communication. So let's just go ahead and feel these codes as they activate. We're activating the sequence of 2, 22, 5, and 6. So we're turning on these DNA codes. And then to lock that frequency in, we're going to give you the light language of the 6, or of the code number 6. This is your soul family. And the light language for this code is your ray. So if you want to just say aloud, your ray 3 times, your ray.
Your
Your
ray.
ray.
Your ray. Is that your ray? Your ray?
Yeah, yes. Your ray, your ray, your ray.
Your ray, your ray, your ray.
And then just feeling as all of the codes lock in. And then that feels complete. So I would say, like, for the question, the answer to the question is the purity of connection and communication. And just now what's going to happen, Jean, is that now that your body is activated, it's going to start to work with your consciousness so that you can become aware of where that's out of alignment, and you can create choices to have your connections be from that space of soul family, and that the communication can be in a space of purity from that place. How are you feeling?
Oh, I just feel like I'm wanting to communicate, from now with my relatives and who have passed, which I have been, but a more of a flow of connection. I feel like will be coming on. It's my choice.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was something. Okay, so before we go on to the next, Jules, can you clarify? So this was for Janine, but everyone can choose to receive, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, I always like to see it that when it all comes down to it, there's one cell, right? It's the, you could say the God cell or the divine cell. And so when we are activating, everybody is activating because we're all interconnected. We're all the frequency of oneness. And so if this resonates, and also as you're listening to the readings, reflect on, how does this, how would this show up in my life? Like where can I connect this that maybe, yes, this was for Jean, but how does this affect my life? Like where in my life am I maybe staying small or holding back, or or maybe it's something like Jean, like, oh, okay, I need to start communicating with my loved ones on the other side a little bit more. And whatever that is, it's going to be your own experience of the codes.
Beautiful. Okay. So with that, let's take our next caller. We're going to Reno, Nevada. 5896 are the last digits. I'm unmuting you. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome. What is your name, please?
My name is Linda Ray.
Hi, Linda Ray. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Good morning,
Linda.
Jules.
Hi, Linda.
So it's Linda Ray, and it's all one word, no special capitalization. So, I would love to know what's blocking my DNA. And if you're hearing any snoring, it's my dog at my side.
How cute. All right, let's see. Okay, so we're going to first identify the frequency of distortion. So this is just how your cells are reading the environment of your body that programmed or just through that two-strand DNA system. And the frequency that it's picking up on is it's kind of like that trying energy. So this would be what I call the third level of consciousness and down. So how this would show up is when, let's say you want to manifest something, that it feels like you're trying to make it happen. And so this could be also really connected to reaction or an emotion that is connected to either the lack of outcome or even to the outcome. And what happens in the distortion space as your DNA is reading the environment is that it becomes this like emotional roller coaster is how it could show up, right? Or it could be, oh, I wanted to manifest $10,000, but then all of a sudden my car breaks down and it's going to cost $10,000 to replace it. So it becomes a loop of consistently having the experience of what it is to manifest something as that up and down roller coaster, both on an emotional level, probably a mental level, but also on a chemical level, just with your body needing to release the stress hormone or even that dopamine to keep you actively participating in the loop of manifestation. I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift that into becoming a divine manifester. So as we activate this first code, we're moving manifestation from something that has to happen outside of you to an expression that's inside of you. So there's an invitation that's coming in here. If there is something that you're actively manifesting right now, to just place it in your heart space and allow this frequency of source to move into the expression so you can see your DNA as it begins to light up, releasing that frequency of what it is to be a manifester as source. And then through that, we'll activate the second code, which is opening up direct communication with source. You can see this as your telephone line to source. And just feeling that next code as it's activating and participating. They're working together, so you are a divine manifester. And then now you have the direct phone line to the divine so that you can receive that clear, direct guidance. So just feeling that as it activates in your body. And then we'll activate the next code of that inventor energy. You can also see this as like new thoughts, new ideas, solutions. So what would it be to be a manifester through direct communication of source, where you're receiving information outside of a programmed reality? So this would be like that. Einstein's coming to, I just have this picture of him inventing, the electricity and all these beautiful things. So we're just going to let those all work together. And now I'm going to see if there's a code that wants to come through to kind of lock these all in. Okay, beautiful. So I'm getting the master manifester. Okay, so let's just before we really turn this on and allow you to experience this, let's just kind of go through what the distortion is so that you're aware of what's holding you back and what's on the other side. So the first place is recognizing where you're manifesting from. And is it through direct divine guidance, or is it by trying to make something happen, being reliant on, and how this could show up, it would be, well, I can only manifest this if this happens and somebody else does something. So those are the frequencies that are turning inside out. And instead of that, it's, okay, what's my next right step? And you're just calling up God, you're calling up the divine, be like, okay, well, what do I do next? And boom, you're given the information, and that's activated. So you begin the treasure hunt, right? It becomes more of this, okay, now go do this, and now go do this, and now go do this. And you get to the next location, and you get to open up this little treasure, and it says, oh, okay, now go do this. And then this leads you down a path of a way shower, of a leader, of being the first to experience what these messages are bringing you to, so that you can be a master creator. How are you feeling?
Ooh, pretty buzzy. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm trying to anchor this in because I'm pretty electric right now.
Well, just let that frequency so when you feel that frequency in your body, that electricity, that's your divine operating system, that divine molecular technology turning on. And so all you have to do is have the experience. You don't have to figure it out. And just knowing that this is happening on a biological level, and your consciousness will attune to this frequency. So the more you can just allow the frequency to be there without trying to manipulate it or trying to make something happen, eventually what's going to happen is your consciousness is going to hit the frequency of what's being released, and you're going to start to embody the messages that are there for you specifically. So just as you kind of go through the rest of this call, I'm just going to invite you to just be in the frequency and experience it, and knowing there's an attuning process that's happening consciously, and you don't have to understand anything right now, because with this, the frequencies are much higher than what our consciousness can understand. But eventually our consciousness will attune to the frequency and it will match it. And then we have the understanding and the knowing that comes with that. So that's the invitation here.
Jules, I spent so much of my life outside my body. And this is just, my body is rejoicing right now that we're working together. It definitely feels like a homecoming. I'm kind of a little bit emotional about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you,
girl.
Linda. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Blessings to you. Thank you for all that you have brought to be shared for you and for everyone on the call. Can the breathing, using our breath, help us absorb, integrate, maintain ourselves at the frequency, right? And just being present, I guess, just being present to the experience. As you said, without going into thinking, analyzing, or anything, just being present to the experience. At least for me, that's if I pay attention to my breathing, I can be just doing that and then allow the experience to unfold and be present to it. So that can be a way. How I remember when you talked about step 6 that you mentioned the breath, but can we use our breathing throughout all the different steps to I guess to build up our capacity to hold and maintain the frequencies, the higher frequencies, the source frequencies?
I think the breath is it is a portal, but I'm just going to kind of take this a step further. As as you're going through these readings and the activations that are happening through on a biological level, the more that we can have the experience of what does my body feel like, and in that, of course, what does my breath feel like, but even more so, because yes, the breath is amazing. Like I actually have a whole series through the breath where we actually ascend what the breath actually is. But what I find a lot of times is that when the body hits this frequency, and this isn't just for myself, I hear this a lot through others that experience it, is that the breath actually stops. And you just are suspended in this frequency to where you don't really need to breathe. And that's almost like the opposite of what we're taught through the breath. But it is true. I've actually had a conversation with a master breathwork facilitator, and he said that that's actually true, that he said that that's actually the goal of breath work, is to get to the space of no breath. And so there's, I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. It's just, I guess what I'm saying is that whatever the experience is, go with it without trying to manipulate it with the breath, but allow the breath to be part of the experience and see where it takes you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's so interesting. And what I'm hearing is, as you said, the breath stops. I'm hearing it actually. It's suspense. It's like just suspense.
Yeah.
And wow. Okay. Well, I'm certainly going to experiment with this. Definitely. Thank you for that. Okay. Let me take requests from the Q&A. We'll come back to more live callers, but let's go to Norway, in Vikersund, Norway, with Patrice. So for Patrice, what's blocking his DNA from expressing his true potential?
All right. Let me just tap in here. So interesting. Okay. All right. So this is the space of the more on the epigenetic level. So this is the frequency of the distortion. And so okay, so what I'm getting, sorry, just give me one moment. Okay. It's the identifying in that programmed reality. So what this could look like is, so in the body, it would be, so let's say the body is in pain. It would be identifying that the pain is real, or that's kind of the limitation of that. So another example of this could be that maybe where I live is a limitation, or what my job is a limitation. So it's whatever the experience of something that is structured or something that is of form. And then another way of we could even see this is even a looping cycle of the mind. So it could be something where you wake up, I'm getting this vision of like waking up and always having the same feeling every morning that you wake up. It's just this underlying kind of depression or limitation, or things are never going to change. All of that is this energy that I'm picking up on. So however that is coming, I'm sure there's many different ways that could be showing up, but I'm really getting just kind of this overall kind of lower frequency that's kind of running everything. And that lower frequency is showing up in multiple different ways of how you would see limitation. Okay, so that was a lot, but I feel like it was really worth spending the time in. So I want you to see it as the thing that is holding you back is every time that you think, I can't, this will never change, I can't do that because of this. All of that is the distortion that we're dissolving right now. Okay, so now I'm going to begin to turn on the frequency on the other side. So we're going to move the cell from observing the limitations and operating in just those two strands, and we're going to turn it inside out and attuning and activating the DNA. And now we're going to turn on that master creator, the ability to create outside of limitation. I'm also seeing the activation of the alchemist, the ability to take coal and turn it to gold. So this could be a simple shift of perspective. It's the ability to see the limitation, but see it as an expression or a portal opening of ascension, that every limitation is an opportunity to experience in a higher frequency. So we're going to begin to turn on that frequency of master creator in the alchemist. And just begin to allow that frequency to run through your body. And as that is turning on, we're going to plug you right into that frequency of communication with Source. So we're opening up that channel. So every time that there is a limitation and solution needs to come in, that you are given the answer. And this isn't coming from the mind. This is rewiring. You can even feel the frequencies as they rewire your physical brain. Rewiring the way your synapse responses are observing the environment, to attuning to the frequency of Source, just completely restructuring the way your physical brain is operating. You may even feel little streams of energy running through your mind, and just connecting that right down into the heart center, so that your mind and your heart are coherent, not just on a physical level, but a quantum level. And then we're going to activate that bridge. We're going to activate a direct pathway from where you are now to where you are going, or who you are now to who you are becoming, knowing that there is a pathway for you, a divine pathway. And in that, we're going to activate that Christ conscious energy, the ability to hold consciousness in the purity of Source intelligence, and that this intelligence is activating every cell of your body. Right, so now let's just back it up, and we're going to reattune that low frequency to the vibration of 963. So where you felt limitless is now expansive, and that this expansion holds communication, a pathway, and a state of consciousness for you to experience. So we're going to just upload these frequencies into your divine operating system. allowing it to attune your conscious awareness, opening a frequency that is expressed into your reality, opening a pathway for you to follow with clarity and wisdom. All right.
Thank you.
That was
Thank you,
a good
Patrice.
one. I really felt that.
Me too. I was like, wow. Thank you, Patrice. Wow, that's we're getting such a treat. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, Jules. You are really. It is such a treat to have you with us, Jules, and doing your magic and offering these activations for everyone. We are getting like the VIP treatment with you. Thank you. Wow. Okay. That was something. So we'll come back. We'll come back to have more readings, more activations, Jules. But for now, you have created a wonderful offering. It is called Hold the Codes of Your Divine Blueprint, and we'd love to hear all about it. So for everyone to follow, you can go to gracefulconnections.com/Jules5. That's Graceful Connections, all in one word with two L's, as in full of grace. gracefulconnections.com/Jules5. That's JEWELS digit 5. If you're on the webcast, you have a button and a link. You can click there. If you're on the replay, just scroll down the page and discover Jules' special offer. Jules, please reveal what you've created for our audience.
Yes, I'd love to. Okay, I opened up my computer to read them, and I saw, it's 11:11, so we have a little blessing right now.
Oh, thank you. Blessing. Thank you. Okay. Divine perfection at work.
Of course. All right, so the first, I have two different offers, and the first offer is a private gene code reading. So it's a little what we have been doing, but much more in depth. So it will go into actually 12 different codes, and we will read kind of where you're at, what needs to shift, both on a like on an epigenetic level all the way to a quantum level. And then we code the sequence and do an activation process through consciousness. And then you're given a light language sequence at the end to continue to code with. So it's a really amazing experience. And so that is a private session with me to do a gene code reading. And that, I'm not sure how much that was. I don't have it here. I don't know if you have it on your side, how much that was.
Do you have? Okay, maybe I got confused.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Is it a one package, right? It's a one package.
Am
I confused? Or who is confused? It is one package. Okay.
No,
okay.
It's part one.
It is one package with different components to it.
Yes. I'm sorry. I saw part 1 and part 2 and I got confused too. I'm in this high frequency. Yeah. I was like, what? I have to come down.
I know.
Okay. Let me ground myself here. All right, you're right. So it's $222 for the whole package, and it's a $400 and something value. So the second part of the package, and I actually really, really love this. So you have the gene code reading, and then you have the frequency support, because as I was saying earlier, one of the most important things of any time that we're activating these higher frequencies is learning to hold our consciousness in those frequencies, or even the attuning process. So the frequency support package that comes with it comes with tools. So the first tool that it comes with is our DMT copper transmission card. And this is a card that is connected to a scalar device, and the frequencies of the 12 DNA coding system, and you can continue to transmit the frequencies of your gene code reading through this copper card. And of course, there's a lot of other ways that you can play with it as well. We have a whole 10 actually quick fixes. So some examples of this could be sleep. It could be to diminish fear. It could be manifesting. So there's all these different codes that you can activate on a DNA level and play in. And then the card is also an EMF detector, and it has some other really fun things. So it is an actual physical product that you will receive. And then the other product that it comes with is the Golden Lotus, and this is an Arnes product. So those of you that don't know what Arnes is, I strongly recommend doing a little research out there. But Arnes stands for Orbited Rearranged Monoatomic Elements, and the Golden Lotus is a multidimensional flower that is holding the frequency of rejuvenation or regeneration. And so it is a multidimensional, you could say, product, but it does come in a physical form. So it will be something that you can either spray. It comes in a little spray bottle, and you can spray it onto your heart space. You can use it on your third eye. This product is really, really magical. It's one of those ones we could have like a whole entire interview just on what Arnes and the Golden Lotus is, but we won't do that. You can read more about it. But these two products are specifically part of this package to help keep your frequency high once you are activated, and then actively participating in that frequency consciously through the codes in the Arnes.
Right. So one package, two components and three elements. Okay,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yes,
2, 3.
thank you.
Okay. So the one package that's hold the codes of your divine blueprint. The two components are one, the private session, the Gene Code DNA Activation session. It includes a live frequency code reading, personalized ascension insight, DNA activation transmission, and embodiment tools and next steps. And the second component is this frequency support package, which includes two elements, which are the two tools that are the copper-coded copper-coded card and the Golden Lotus Arnes. Okay, and all of that actually, Jules, the price is $197, which means everyone, this is so generous of you, Jules, because the private session, the value of the private session itself is $222. So for less than the price of the session, you get the whole package. So that's really, it's very unique, very exclusive, very generously priced, and you have a PayPal for payment option available in many countries. So I would really definitely encourage you to take this opportunity and to make the best of it. And there will be a special announcement towards the end of our time together. So make sure to stay all along, because this is something you will not want to miss. Thank you for offering this package, this exclusive package, Jules. Let's go back to more readings and more activations. So let's take a live caller. We are going to someplace. You are signed up as Sue, S-U. So Sue, I'm unmuting you. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi, Sophie. Hi, Jules. My question is, what's blocking my DNA from expressing my true potential?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so we're going to disperse by reading the frequency that is moving on an epigenetic level that is creating the distortion or interference. Okay, so there's the image that's like popping into my head with this frequency is kind of like trying to walk upstream, and it's the message I'm getting is just just turn around and walk the other way. It's kind of like redirection, right? It's knowing when to see that the static or the resistance is just a simple shift of direction. And I hope that that makes sense. It's kind of, it doesn't mean that everything necessarily needs to change. It's just letting it guide you versus trying to force it. And one moment. Okay, and the other distortion within that is I just feel like this heaviness here. It's almost as if, well, if I move in a different directions, others will suffer, and so the distortion that we're going to be dissolving in this reading is that the message I'm just hearing to share with you is that when you're in alignment and you choose your divine path, that when you choose your heart, everybody wins. And that when you're in alignment, everybody else has the opportunity to do the same. And this creates inspiration and momentum. And it begins to open things up. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and just shift that to the other side and allow that inspiration and momentum to begin to activate as all that stuck energy begins to dissolve, the resistance dissolve. And then in that, there's a frequency that's coming in to be activated of a level of mastery over the illusion. So it's the ability to see the manipulation or, one moment. The word manipulation wants to come through almost one moment. So it's the ability to see the limitations of your own thoughts and how they contribute to the resistance, but also the ability to see the manipulation. So this very specific message is coming in, so I'm just going to share it, is that the words are the last thing that you listen to. You pay attention to action and frequency, and that this becomes a mastery of dissolving resistance. And I don't know why I'm getting so specific here, but I'm literally seeing a very specific frequency pattern where maybe you know that you're supposed to do something and you talk to somebody else about it and they try to change your mind, and that there's a manipulation in it, but because you're listening to their words and not their frequency, they're saying all the right things, but the intent isn't coming from a pure place. And if you start to walk down that path, you're going to keep hitting the roadblocks with like this next frequency that's activating is allowing you to see through the illusion and stay true to your heart and the message from source versus the message of maybe outside influences. Okay, and then that is actually like, so not only are you mastering the illusion or outside influences to stay in that inspiration and momentum, but the last one is just actually coming in as that clear guidance. And then the code that is locking all this in is full mastery. So there is a path of mastery trying to open up for you. And what I mean by that is that you kind of let everything else go to the side, and that divine guidance becomes a number one, and like knowing whether or not you're in alignment with that guidance is the focus. And so that's what we're going to activate you to hold, is that the frequency of divine guidance and the mastery of holding consciousness within that guidance, and then the willingness to actually act upon that guidance is activated on a DNA level. We'll just allow that to activate. And I'm feeling like I want to give you the light language for, so this is the light language for the 33, and it's Awe, Awe. So if you want to say that 3 times to activate the frequency, Awe, Awe, Awe. And then just feeling that as it activates in your body. How are you feeling?
I feel a lot of sensations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Blessings,
Thank you so much.
Sue. Thank you. Yeah, well, that was very welcome. I believe a path out of manipulation, being manipulated, out of it, through it, out, right? Seeing through it into full mastery. Yes, thank you for that. Okay, let's take one from the Q&A. We're going to Calgary with Johanna. So for Johanna, what's blocking Johanna's DNA from expressing her true potential?
All right, Johanna, let's see. Okay. All right, so we are starting with that energy. I can't remember what his name was. He was in the chat.
The previous Patrice?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very similar to it's like locked in programming, right? That limitation. So the body is or the DNA, I should say, as it's identifying within its environment, it's picking up on a lot of just limiting thoughts, a lower, I don't want to say, when I say lower vibration, I don't mean it as in that it's like a negative thing. It's distorted, right? It's not the full truth. And, okay, so let me just read this just a little bit further. Okay, and then also I just picked up on this false reality of believing that how do I say this? The foundation, a foundation that's based in the illusion is stable. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like believing that that something that's been built in distortion has stability. It's kind of like all of that is crumbling, if that makes sense, because the truth is that when we move into the quantum experience of our body and that we start to attune to the divine, is that that we become flow, right? We're not stabilized in any one energy. So the kind of the vision of the other side of this, so we're going to go ahead and turn it inside out and start to activate this code, is that you can see it like you're walking across a big body of water, let's say, and that each time you take a step, it looks like you're just going to fall into the water, but right when your foot is about to hit the water, cobblestone comes for you to stand on, and knowing that each time that you take this step and knowing that the divine will be there to hold you, but you don't ever just stay in one place. You're consistently moving forward, knowing that the next right step will be there. That's what I'm getting in this first space. So how that could show up in your life right now is not waiting for the answer before you take a step. It's being willing to just take the step and see how you're guided within that step. It's kind of going in blind faith, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then in that, we're going to activate that frequency to be able to do that. This is so weird. This happens every once in a while, but I'm really getting like Jesus energy here. It's that space of just being willing to just go where you're guided and knowing that there is a mission in that guidance and that you don't necessarily have to understand it. It's just showing up in love and showing up in in that kind of Christ consciousness energy and allowing that to be the experience or the purpose. And so in that, I'm also getting the message that the listening to the divine is your purpose. So many times we want to get wrapped up in what is my life purpose, and the purpose is to follow the divine guidance, and that's what these codes are saying. And I'm really I feel like that's the biggest message. I don't even know that I need to continue. I think that what needed to be said has been said. So we'll just let that activate. The big one. Yeah. I think there's a lot of us that needed to hear that.
Yes, definitely. And to receive this. Thank you. Well, we're in the orb of grace, so it calls a specific response, right? And thank you.
Yeah, I can feel the intensity on just the collective of the call of that shift of searching for purpose becomes to go inside and listen and just follow the guidance. That's the ultimate purpose, right?
You've simplified everyone's purpose. It's simple. Follow the divine. Listen and follow. That's it. Yeah. That's right. And once again, it feels so right. It feels so like we have a knowing of that. And it makes everything just so simple now. Listen and follow.
Yeah.
Such a relief, because all the complications, right? All the complications or complexities of the purpose and what is it and how I do it and with whom and well and right? All these endless questions, they become just listen and follow.
I used to have a saying that I would say is, every time you have the question of, oh, what do I do, or how do I do it, or what's next, it's always the same answer. Go to the divine.
Exactly. Listen and follow. Ask the divine. Yeah. That's where you ask, and then you listen and follow, and it unfolds. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. How do we move on from that? How do we move on from there? How are you feeling, Jules? Do you feel like doing more? Or maybe it's 7:33. Talk about Jesus, right? And it's
here it's 11:33.
Something 11. I was going to say it's something 33. Okay, 11:33 for you. So, yeah. Do you feel that was the one completing our transmissions? Yeah, I do so too. What is there to add to this, right?
Yeah.
and the numbers are just confirming it to us. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Thank you for all those activations that you have offered and for everyone to receive. Let's wrap it up before we get to our special announcement. While allowing, I'm feeling that we're going back to talking, but it's still operating, right? So let's just allow the activation and what you have offered, what came through. Let's allow it to keep operating in the background as we move on. Is that okay?
Of course. And that will just know all these activations they're an ongoing revolution. So.
So we take a moment to receive them, but we don't stop life and just stay on
Yes.
hold, right? We actually integrate. We go on with life, and we go on to do our well, our mission, our purpose of listening and following. So let me wrap up before, yes, we go to our special announcement. So hold the codes of your divine blueprint, the exclusive, wonderful special offer from Jules with the 30-minute private sessions, the gene code DNA activation. You have the description in the special offer page. With that, you have your support package that includes your copper-coded DMT transmission card and the Golden Lotus Armors. So you have all the details on the special offer page. Go to gracefulconnections.com/Jewels5, JEWELS digit 5. On the webcast, you have the button, you have the link on the replay, so scroll down the page. And yes, it is very generously priced for this whole package. You have PayPal for payment option available in many countries. And in addition, let's come to our special announcement. That Jules is generously offering a fast action bonus for any purchases by Sunday, May 4th at midnight Pacific. Jules, please tell us about your fast action bonus, Manifesting with the Evolution Technology.
Yeah, so this is it's like a 30-day journey, if you will. And so you start to learn the technology that is working on a DNA level to shift the cells from identifying in a programmed reality or in this 2-strand DNA system to the 12. But you're doing it through a journey of manifestation. So you go through kind of this whole, I guess, modules, and every couple of days you have a focus that is helping attune your consciousness into a very specific state of awareness through a manifestation process. And so it's a lot of fun to go through. It's not hard. You don't have to understand it all. You can just go and have the experience and watch the magic happen.
Yeah. So it's really unapplied, right? We apply to manifesting,
Yes.
and we get on board with the evolution technology. So I was looking at my notes. This is really getting us into the steps 1, 2, 3, right? It's like we are taken by the hand and we are doing an application, working on manifesting, and we get on board with the technology with that. So that's really with the 30-day program. So that's really the perfect complement to the package. I do definitely encourage everyone to make the best of this extra opportunity and take this opportunity with the fast action bonus, because this is gonna get you. I'm seeing like when you put on your shoes, because you're going on a journey, right? You put on the shoes. That's the way to get really concretely getting started concretely. And so this fast action bonus expires on Sunday, May 4th at midnight Pacific. So take the opportunity of this. Jules, are there any closing words that you would like to share?
Oh my gosh, I just feel like that last activation kind of summed it all up. Is just to, start
Yes.
to go inside and explore and ask questions. And then, there's one thing: when we ask a question, we're not always going to get the answer right away, right? But that's the fun of it, is that we ask these questions and then we hold our awareness in our day-to-day life to receive the answers. And then all of a sudden reality becomes the feedback or the response to your question. And that's really where the magic starts to happen, is that we realize that our reality is part of the technology, right? It's a part of the divine plan, and that when we stop seeing reality as an obstacle or a limitation, we start to see it as a part of the co-creation. It can be really fun, and it all starts with just asking a question and then staying open to allow the answer to come back to you.
And following.
Yes, and then of course that the action part is probably, that's like, it's the, I think, thank you for saying that, because it definitely is time for action. It's when we're given guidance, it's really important to take action in that, because if you don't, somebody else will, and they'll get to experience the magic that was meant for you.
Yes, and also I'm seeing it's like each piece of guidance is like a gift, and when you're offered a gift, you open it, right? You don't dismiss it. You don't just put it away, or right? You also honor the gift itself, and you honor the gifter, which is the divine, who is the divine, and you unwrap your gift, right? So I think that's the right thing to do. Thank you for that. Let's take a moment now to return to the awareness of the orb of grace surrounding us, allowing it to remain there, holding us, holding all that we have experienced, all that we have received today, all that has been activated, as we are held in the orb of grace for as long as it serves our highest good, our evolution, and the highest good of all. And I'm closing now by offering my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you, whether you're present live or on the replay. Thank you for joining us today, for answering yes to the calling of grace and answering yes to, your divine mission, your divine purpose, right? Listening and following. You're answering yes to the invitation to your purpose of listening and following. Infinite gratitude to you, Jules, for all the wisdom, all the guidance, the illumination, the activations, and the sacred offerings you have gifted us today. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Thanks for holding this beautiful container for us to experience this.
Yes, and so thank you. Yes, gratitude to the Orb of Grace, our beautiful container, providing a safe, sacred sanctuary for our journey of exploration. And gratitude for all the grace we are blessed with at every moment, whether we're aware of it or not. Grace offers all the nourishment, the nurturing, the healing, the insights, the answers we open our hearts to receive. And gratitude to our higher selves and all the higher beings who guide, support, and protect us. And gratitude to the divine presence that flows through all. Thank you. Until we meet again very soon, many graceful blessings to you all. Thank you. Thank you, Jules. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye now.